Border Collie Zeus had once worked in military operations overseas. Now he was retired, living peacefully as a beloved park dog in a quiet suburban community. Until that Sunday when he suddenly started attacking children at the playground. His owner Mike couldn't understand Zeus's behavior. Was his gentle companion actually trying to harm the kids he'd always loved? When police arrived to investigate, they discovered what Zeus had really been detecting. And this discovery would save the entire neighborhood from an unthinkable tragedy. Mike Thompson was 55 years old, a decorated military veteran who had dedicated 25 years of his life to serving his country. For the final decade of his military career, he had specialized in one of the most critical and dangerous roles in modern warfare, training and handling military working dogs for explosive detection operations. Border Collie Zeus had been Mike's most successful protege. With his distinctive black and white coat, piercing intelligent eyes, and extraordinary focus, Zeus had demonstrated an almost supernatural ability to detect improvised explosive devices, IEDs, in the most challenging environments imaginable. Together, Mike and Zeus had completed 3 combat deployments, 2 in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq. In those hostile territories, Zeus's keen nose and unwavering determination had identified dozens of hidden bombs, saving countless military and civilian lives. The bond between handler and dog had been forged in the crucible of combat, where trust meant the difference between life and death. But at 7 years old, Zeus had reached the mandatory retirement age for military working dogs. The decision to retire him had been difficult for Mike, who knew that Zeus lived for the work, but military protocol was clear: older dogs needed to step aside for younger recruits. Zeus deserves a peaceful retirement, Mike had told his commanding officer. He's earned the right to just be a regular dog. After Mike's own retirement from the military, he and Zeus had relocated to Millbrook, a quiet suburban town about 50 miles from the nearest military base. The transition from military life to civilian routine had been challenging for both of them, but they had found solace in their daily visits to Millbrook Community Park. The park had become their sanctuary. Every morning at precisely 8 a.m., Mike and Zeus would arrive for their constitutional walk around the perimeter. Zeus seemed to genuinely enjoy the attention from local families, especially the children who would squeal with delight when the handsome border collie would approach for petting and play. "Zeus is such a gentle giant," Margaret Patterson, a local grandmother, would often say as she watched Zeus patiently allow her twin grandchildren to climb on his back. "He's wonderful with children. You can tell he has such a good heart." Indeed, Zeus had adapted remarkably well to civilian life. Gone was the intense, mission-focused demeanor that had characterized his military service. In its place was a calm, friendly disposition that made him a favorite among park regulars. He seemed to have successfully transitioned from warrior to companion. Sunday, October 15th began like any other beautiful autumn day in Millbrook. The morning air was crisp and clear, with the kind of golden sunlight that made the changing leaves glow like stained glass windows. Mike and Zeus arrived at the park at their usual time, joining the steady stream of families taking advantage of the gorgeous weather. The park was particularly busy that morning. Children ran between the playground equipment while parents chatted on benches, their conversations mixing with the sounds of laughter and play. Zeus, as always, was in his element, moving from family to family like a four-legged ambassador of goodwill. 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez was among Zeus's biggest fans. "Zeus! Zeus!" she called out as she spotted the border collie near the swing set. Zeus trotted over immediately, his tail wagging enthusiastically as Emma wrapped her small arms around his neck. "Zeus is my best friend in the whole park," Emma announced to her mother, Linda. "He's the nicest dog ever." Mike watched this interaction with deep satisfaction. Seeing Zeus so relaxed and happy was a daily reminder that their decision to move to Millbrook had been the right choice. Zeus deserved this peaceful existence after his years of dangerous service. But as the morning progressed toward noon, Mike began to notice subtle changes in Zeus's behavior. The border collie's ears became more alert, rotating occasionally as if tracking sounds that Mike couldn't detect. Zeus's nose began working more actively, testing the air currents with the systematic thoroughness that Mike recognized from their military days. "What is it, boy?" Mike asked quietly, but Zeus didn't respond. Instead, his attention became increasingly focused on one particular area of the park, the southeastern corner where a large pine tree provided shade over a section of playground equipment. At first, Mike dismissed Zeus's alertness as simple environmental awareness. Border collies were naturally vigilant dogs, and Zeus had always been particularly attuned to his surroundings. But as the minutes passed, Mike realized that Zeus's behavior was becoming more specific and intense. What started as mild alertness quickly escalated into something more concerning. Zeus began positioning himself strategically between the children and the southeastern corner of the park, subtly but persistently redirecting their play activities away from that area. Initially, his interventions were gentle. When a group of children started running toward the shaded playground equipment under the pine tree, Zeus would intercept them with playful barks and enthusiastic tail wagging, successfully diverting their attention to other parts of the park. "Look at Zeus herding the kids," laughed Tom Martinez, Emma's father. "He thinks he's their shepherd." But Mike recognized that Zeus's behavior wasn't playful herding. The border collie's body language was displaying signs that Mike had learned to read during their years of explosive detection work: focused attention, controlled movement, and an underlying tension that suggested Zeus had identified something that required investigation. As more children gravitated toward the pine tree area, Zeus's interventions became more direct. He began physically placing himself between the children and their intended destination, using his body as a barrier while maintaining his friendly demeanor. "Zeus, what are you doing?" called out Linda Rodriguez as Zeus gently but firmly pushed Emma away from the pine tree. "Let her play where she wants to play." Mike approached Zeus, studying his dog's behavior more carefully. Zeus's ears were locked forward, his nose was working actively, and his posture was the classic stance Mike had seen hundreds of times during bomb detection training. But this was a civilian park in peaceful Millbrook, not a combat zone in Afghanistan. "Zeus, sit," Mike commanded, but Zeus ignored the order completely. This was unprecedented. Zeus had never disobeyed a direct command from Mike, even in the most stressful military situations. Instead of sitting, Zeus moved closer to the pine tree, his nose working intensively as he tested the air currents. His tail was no longer wagging, and his entire body language had shifted into what Mike recognized as active detection mode. As Zeus's behavior became more assertive, the atmosphere in the park began to change. Parents who had previously viewed the border collie as a friendly park mascot started expressing concern about his increasingly protective actions around their children. "Is your dog okay?" asked Jennifer Walsh, a mother of 2 young boys. "He seems agitated about something." Zeus had begun actively herding children away from the southeastern corner of the park, using techniques that were remarkably similar to his military training for clearing civilians from potentially dangerous areas. He would position himself between children and the target area, then use gentle but persistent pressure to guide them towards safer locations. "Zeus, heel." Mike commanded more firmly, but Zeus continued to ignore him. This level of disobedience was completely out of character and deeply troubling. In their years of partnership, Zeus had never prioritized anything over Mike's direct commands. Mike approached the area that was capturing Zeus's attention, hoping to identify whatever was causing his dog's unusual behavior. The southeastern corner of the park appeared completely normal: well-maintained playground equipment, freshly mowed grass, and the large pine tree that provided pleasant shade on sunny days. But as Mike drew closer, Zeus's agitation increased dramatically. The border collie positioned himself directly between Mike and the pine tree, whining with an urgency that Mike had only heard during their most dangerous military operations. "What is it, Zeus?" Mike asked, crouching down to Zeus's eye level. "What do you smell?" Zeus looked directly at Mike with an expression of intense communication, then deliberately turned his attention back to the area beneath the pine tree. His behavior was exhibiting every characteristic of a positive explosive detection alert, but Mike's rational mind struggled to accept that possibility in this peaceful civilian setting. Other park visitors were beginning to express more vocal concerns about Zeus's behavior. Several families had gathered their children and moved to different areas of the park, clearly uncomfortable with the border collie's increasingly protective actions. "Maybe we should take Zeus home," suggested Carol Henderson, an elderly woman who walked her small terrier in the park daily. "He seemed stressed about something." But Mike knew that leaving would be the wrong decision. Zeus's behavior was too specific, too purposeful, and too consistent with his explosive detection training to be dismissed as simple stress or confusion. Drawing on his years of experience as a military dog handler, Mike forced himself to step back and objectively assess Zeus's behavior using the criteria he had learned for evaluating explosive detection alerts. Zeus was exhibiting every classic indicator of a positive detection. Focused attention on a specific location. Active nose work testing air currents. Physical positioning to block human access to the target area. Refusal to abandon the target despite commands. Escalating urgency in body language and vocalizations. Mike's military training had taught him to trust his dog's abilities completely, even when human senses detected nothing unusual. In combat situations, this trust had saved lives on multiple occasions. "Zeus," Mike said quietly, using the formal tone he had employed during their military service. "Are you indicating?" Zeus immediately responded to the change in Mike's voice and demeanor. He looked directly at Mike and gave a single, sharp bark, the same vocalization he had used during their military service to confirm a positive detection. Mike felt his blood run cold. If Zeus was genuinely detecting explosive materials in a civilian park, the implications were terrifying. But Mike also knew that Zeus had never given a false positive during their entire military career. The Border Collie's detection accuracy had been legendary among their unit. Mike pulled out his cell phone, his hand slightly shaking as he scrolled through his contacts. This was not a decision he could make alone, and the potential consequences of being wrong in either direction were too serious to contemplate. Mike dialed the Millbrook Police Department's non-emergency number, hoping to speak with someone who would take his concerns seriously without triggering an unnecessary panic. "Millbrook Police, this is Sergeant Davis." "Sergeant, this is Mike Thompson. I'm a retired military dog handler, and I'm currently at Community Park with my former explosive detection dog. He's exhibiting behavior that suggests he may have detected explosive materials." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Sir, can you repeat that?" Mike took a deep breath and tried to explain the situation as clearly as possible. "My dog Zeus is a retired military working dog with 7 years of combat experience in explosive detection. He's currently displaying all the classic behaviors of a positive explosive detection alert in the southeastern section of the park." "Are you saying there might be a bomb in the park?" Sergeant Davis asked, his voice becoming more serious. "I'm saying that my dog, who has never given a false positive in his career, is indicating the presence of explosive materials. I think someone should investigate." To Sergeant Davis's credit, he took Mike's report seriously. "Sir, I need you to keep people away from that area. We're sending units immediately." Within minutes, 2 patrol cars arrived at the park. Officer James Rodriguez, a veteran police officer who was familiar with military protocols, approached Mike directly. "Mr. Thompson, I understand you have concerns about possible explosive materials." Mike explained Zeus's behavior while pointing out the specific area that was capturing the dog's attention. Officer Rodriguez observed Zeus for several minutes, noting the Border Collie's intense focus and protective positioning. "This dog is definitely alerting to something," Rodriguez concluded. "We need to treat this as a potential explosive device situation." Officer Rodriguez immediately called for backup and began the process of clearing civilians from the immediate area around a pine tree. The park's Sunday afternoon crowd was asked to move to the northern section while police established a preliminary perimeter. "Is this really necessary?" asked one parent. "It's just a dog acting strangely." But Rodriguez, who had served in the military before joining the police force, understood the significance of a trained detection dog's alert. "Sir, military working dogs have detection capabilities that far exceed any technology we have. If this dog says there's something here, we take it seriously." While maintaining the perimeter, Rodriguez contacted the county bomb squad, explaining the situation and requesting an immediate response. The dispatcher initially seemed skeptical about deploying the bomb squad based solely on a dog's behavior, but Rodriguez was insistent. "This isn't just any dog," Rodriguez explained. "This is a retired military explosive detection dog with documented combat experience. His handler says he's never given a false positive." 30 minutes later, the county bomb squad arrived in their specialized vehicle. Bomb technician Tim Carter, a former Navy explosive ordnance disposal specialist, approached Mike and Zeus to assess the situation. "Tell me about your dog's training and experience," Carter requested. Mike provided a detailed overview of Zeus's military service, including his deployment history, training certifications, and track record of successful detections. Carter listened carefully, asking specific technical questions about Zeus's training protocols and detection methods. "This dog's credentials are impressive," Carter concluded. "If he's alerting, we need to investigate thoroughly." Carter approached the area Zeus had identified, but stopped when Zeus became visibly agitated and blocked his path. "He's definitely protecting this area," Carter observed. "Let me get my detection equipment." Carter returned with an array of electronic detection devices designed to identify explosive materials. As he approached the pine tree, his handheld explosive detector began registering positive readings. "I'm getting chemical signatures consistent with explosive compounds," Carter announced to his team. The dog was right. The bomb squad established a wider perimeter and brought in a remote-controlled robot to investigate the area more safely. Using ground-penetrating radar, they identified a buried object approximately 10 inches below the surface, directly beneath the pine tree. "There's definitely something metallic buried here," reported Carter. "Size and density are consistent with an improvised explosive device." Mike watched the proceedings with a mixture of pride in Zeus's abilities and horror at the implications of what they were discovering. Zeus remained alert but calmer now that professionals were taking his warning seriously. Using the robot's excavation tools, the bomb squad carefully uncovered a waterproof container buried beneath the pine tree. Inside the container, they found a sophisticated improvised explosive device, IED, consisting of plastic explosives, a digital timer, and metal shrapnel designed to maximize casualties. "This is a serious device," Carter reported to the incident commander. "It's armed and set to detonate in approximately 2 hours. Mike calculated the timing in his head. 2 hours from now would be mid-afternoon, when the park would typically be filled with families enjoying their Sunday leisure time. The potential casualty count from such a device in a crowded area would have been devastating. The bomb squad worked methodically to disarm the device using their specialized equipment. The process took nearly an hour, during which the entire park remained evacuated and surrounding streets were cordoned off as a precautionary measure. Zeus remained focused on the bomb squad's activities, but his body language had shifted from urgent alerting to satisfied monitoring. He seemed to understand that his warning had been received and that appropriate action was being taken. "Device is neutralized," Carter finally announced over his radio. "We have successfully disarmed an improvised explosive device with approximately 8 pounds of plastic explosive and significant shrapnel." The FBI was immediately notified and took jurisdiction over the investigation as a potential act of terrorism. Special Agent Maria Santos arrived within the hour to begin processing the crime scene and coordinating the federal investigation. "Mr. Thompson," Agent Santos addressed Mike, "your dog may have prevented a mass casualty event. Can you walk me through exactly how he detected this device?" Mike explained Zeus's behavior in detail, emphasizing the specificity and persistence of his alerts. Agent Santos took careful notes, recognizing that Zeus's detection had provided crucial evidence about the timing and placement of the device. Based on the timer settings and the device's location, this was clearly intended to cause maximum casualties during peak park usage, Agent Santos concluded. Your dog's intervention likely saved dozens of lives. News of Zeus's heroic detection spread quickly through Millbrook and beyond. Local television stations picked up the story, and Zeus became an overnight sensation as the hero dog who stopped a terror attack. Emma Rodriguez, the 8-year-old who had been playing near the pine tree that morning, was among the first to thank Zeus properly. "I'm sorry I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me," she said, wrapping her arms around Zeus's neck. "You were trying to keep me safe." Zeus accepted the attention with his characteristic dignity, but Mike could see that the border collie was pleased to be understood and appreciated for his work. The town of Millbrook organized a ceremony to honor Zeus, presenting him with a special collar and medal recognizing his service to the community. Mayor Patricia Williams spoke at the ceremony, emphasizing the importance of Zeus's continued vigilance even in retirement. "Zeus reminds us that heroes come in many forms," Mayor Williams said. His dedication to protecting others didn't end when his military service concluded, it simply found a new mission. Mike was deeply moved by the community's response, but he also realized that Zeus's intervention had revealed something important about the nature of their partnership. Despite his official retirement, Zeus remained a guardian at heart. 6 months after the park incident, the Millbrook Police Department approached Mike with an unusual proposition. They wanted to contract Zeus as a part-time explosive detection consultant, available for special events and situations where his expertise might be valuable. "Zeus has proven that his skills remain sharp," Chief of Police Robert Martinez explained. "We'd like to keep those skills available to our community on an as-needed basis." Mike discussed the opportunity with his veterinarian to ensure that Zeus was physically capable of returning to limited duty. At 8 years old, Zeus remained in excellent health and showed obvious enthusiasm for detection work. Zeus was bred for this, Dr. Jennifer Walsh concluded after her examination. "As long as the work is limited and appropriate for his age, I think it would actually be beneficial for his mental well-being." Zeus's return to limited service was celebrated throughout the community. He began working with the police department on special events, conducting security sweeps for festivals, school events, and public gatherings. Mike also volunteered to help train younger detection dogs, sharing Zeus's methods and his own experience as a handler. Their partnership had evolved from active military service to community protection and education. 2 years after the park incident, Zeus continued to serve his community while enjoying his well-earned retirement. His story had inspired other military working dog handlers to consider how their retired partners might continue contributing to public safety. The explosive device that Zeus had detected led to a broader federal investigation that uncovered and prevented additional planned attacks in the region. Agent Santos personally thanked Mike and Zeus for their role in what she described as one of the most significant domestic terrorism prevention cases in recent years. Zeus's detection had not only saved lives that day in the park but had provided crucial intelligence that protected countless others in the broader investigation. Mike often reflected on the lessons of that October Sunday. "Zeus taught me that true service doesn't end with official retirement," he would tell audiences at veterans events and dog training seminars. "The skills, dedication, and protective instincts that make a great military working dog don't disappear when the uniform comes off." Zeus, now graying around his muzzle but still alert and capable, remained a beloved figure in Millbrook. Children who had once been frightened by his urgent warnings now understood that he had been protecting them from a danger they couldn't perceive. Their story had become a testament to the lasting value of military working dogs and the importance of recognizing that retirement from active duty doesn't mean retirement from the calling to serve and protect. Zeus had transitioned from military hero to community guardian, proving that some bonds, between handler and dog, between protector and community, transcend formal service and endure for a lifetime. As Mike and Zeus continued their daily walks through the now-safe park, Mike was reminded that heroes don't always wear uniforms, and that sometimes the most important missions are the ones we never expected to face. If Zeus's incredible military instincts and life-saving detection abilities inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Heart Animal Stories. Every like helps us share more remarkable stories of military working dogs whose training and protective instincts continue saving lives long after their official service ends. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest stories of bomb detection dogs, military heroes, and the extraordinary ways retired service animals continue protecting their communities. Share this video with someone who supports our veterans and working dogs, and let us know in the comments, have you ever witnessed the amazing abilities of military or police detection dogs? We'd love to hear about your experiences with these incredible heroes. Until next time, remember, true service never really ends, it just finds new ways to protect the people we love. Thank you for being part of our Heart Animal Stories family and honoring the brave military working dogs who keep us safe.